Being a dad isn't always easy, but it's the best thing I ever did. I'm constantly improving myself to be the best dad I can be through fitness, nutrition, mindset, and lifestyle. As fathers, we pass on many things to our children, such as our mindset, our habits, our attitude, and what we've learned along the way. Each of these will shape who our children are and who they will become. The Warrior Dad's mission is to help you become the healthiest version of yourself, to hone your edge, and to live with purpose. My name is Jim Bertamy, and this is the Warrior Dads Podcast. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Warrior Dads Podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Nick Horowski. I've been trying to get him on the show for quite a while now, and Nick is a friend and is a father of two, a holistic health practitioner, and the owner of Evolution Health and Fitness. Nick has taken his knowledge of movement and combined it with his passion for health and freedom to educate those that want to heal their own body. Nick offers various workshops, one-to-one coaching packages, weekly blog articles, podcast videos, and presentations. Thank you so much for being here, Nick Horowski. This is awesome.
Jim, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. And like you said, we've been trying to connect to get this done for a few months, I guess, now. And I had the pleasure of being able to have you on my show. So I'm excited to be on and to be able to chat on yours.
Likewise.
As well.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure thing.
So Nick, just start off by telling a little bit about yourself and how you got started, being a holistic health practitioner, just a little bit of your past,
Sure
and then
thing.
kind of how it's evolved from there.
Yeah. I mean, it started like, I always kind of say everything kind of, for me, goes back to almost like my mom and my grandfather, right? Like with the garden and everything growing up. And I just remember being there. So it's just having that like connection with something as far as health goes. And then like, just as I got older, I was always wanting to be in sports, just being bigger, faster, stronger as you're a teenager. And then I went into college when physical therapist came out. Still practicing as a PT, but somewhere along the line, really Paul Chek, he's probably one of the bigger influences on me in this realm, and went down a lot of stuff with the Chek Institute to take a lot of their classes and just do a lot of their coursework. So for me, it's been a big passion and has changed, I would say, a bit over the last a little over 3 years now that my wife and I have 2 kids now. So really just trying to blend that health for ourselves, bring it for our kids. And I would say that's kind of the quick background for me. And now I'm just trying to live it, love it every day.
Yeah,
have fun
I know
with
you
it.
have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, right? Yeah, so congratulations on the 1-year-old. What's his name?
The little guy is Max and the older one is Cooper.
Nice.
And they are quite the duo right now. And here, I mean, I can't like go away. Like one thing that fascinates me about little kids is movement, right? And I mean, I'm sitting on the floor, kind of just like moving, stretching a little bit after working out this morning. Now that we're getting to talk, so I get that little bit of extra stretching time, mobilization time for the day. But I am absolutely fascinated watching kids go through that. Okay, first it's just learn to like sit up a little bit, like roll over, like just do those things, and then they start hitting perfect movement patterns. Like I'm still just trying to hit that perfect squat like they do. And that's the one that I think fascinates me the most, is just uninhibited movement by little kids and how they can just do those things so effortlessly and like no big deal. It's just like, yeah, they have the strength, they have the mobility to hit all those different positions and not even bad.
I know, it's awesome. I got my son doing push-ups right now.
Now how old
he's
is he?
6.
Okay, I knew he was a couple years older.
He's 6. And so, but he's been, I have a TRX down in the studio. I have squat machine, or not squat machine, the squat rack, cable machines, all that kind of stuff. And he loves it. I got one of these like little balls. I don't even know like what shape it would be considered, but it's got all these crazy different sides, probably like a 15-sided thing. And you roll it and it's got all these different workouts on there. He's like, Dad, what's a burpee? So I show him a burpee and he's like, all right, there's 10. So he does 10 burpees. And then he has so much fun with it. He hangs upside down on the TRX. But one of the things he was doing is that he was holding himself up on the TRX as long as he could. And he just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And now, he could do a chin up. and he's showing kids at school, like, chin-ups and push-ups, and his gym teacher actually just had him do push-ups the other day in class. I think he banged out like 10, and other kids were trying to do it, he said. And he's like, I was like, did anybody else try to do it with you? He's like, one kid tried to. He's like, but he didn't get it. It's just...
But see, that's the beauty of it. Like, so, and this is what we're even just chatting about a little bit, right? So they just see you, like, kids see us doing these things all the time, or don't see us doing them, right? So it can be one thing or the other. And if they're taking that time, like, hey, we're spending time around our kids, but hey, still trying to get a workout in, that kind of stuff. They're watching us do these things. Like, how many times does he want to just go, like, if you're doing a workout, like, come down with you, try doing some of the same stuff, or like you said, just climbing on everything, just trying to be involved with it. Like, that is so fantastic. And now his peers are already interested in it. Like, that's the cool thing too. So he can be able to show that, or the gym teacher already recognized, like, okay, this kid actually knows how to move. Not just that he can move, but actually moves properly too.
Well, people have seen him on playgrounds and stuff like that. And he can do the monkey bars great. And he doesn't just, put one hand there and grab the other, bring both hands to the one bar. He's, swinging like one hand
like
on one hand,
along.
one hand, one hand. And he's not a big kid. I mean, he's a little tall, not overly tall, but he's not like this thick, big kid, but he is strong. And, I call him just lean and mean, of course, because he eats good food and he's not puffy. He doesn't have like a lot of fat on him. Right. And, someone saw him and they're like, oh my gosh, look at that kid go. I was like, yeah, that's, he can do it. So like, is that your son? I said, yeah, he could do all 12 monkey bars, at the playground. It's kind of like an S pattern. And they're like, man, he doesn't look that strong. I was like, oh, okay. No big deal. Like, he's, you're underestimating him, but yeah, he comes down to the studio and works out with me all the time, and it's actually a good way for us to spend time together. And then I got a picture of him doing Bosu squats. I just put a dowel on his back and he's doing Bosu squats. And the picture's actually on my Instagram it was like a year ago. It was like last September. So it is cool, but it's actually kind of like you said, it's a great segue to kind of like what you're here to talk about today is, like, still making time for yourself, as a dad and making yourself a priority and keeping yourself strong. Because you have to, just from being a functional human perspective, but then also being that role model to your kids. Right. So I want you to talk a little bit more about that and how are you balancing being a dad of two with having, a new son within the last year? How are you balancing it all?
Well, I would say the number one thing is planning it out. So first and foremost, between my wife and I, right? So we have to talk about these things. Like, she wants to go out in the garage workout. I want to go in the garage workout. Like, we both want to do.
Do you and your wife work out together?
Like, No. Never. That's one thing, like, we've never gotten into, and probably it makes it a little bit easier now, because if we did that would be tough to watch the boys all at the same time. But no, I mean, we just have like different workout styles too, just because I'm competing in strongman and stuff now. So just different things that we're doing either way. But the big thing is, like, hey, we talk about it. I mean, she knows, hey, or I'll say, she knows basically, like, I work out 4 days a week, pretty set times. Or on the weekends, it's like, we're both going to work out. It's just going to be, hey, it's your turn, go. And that's a lot of times, like, what it'll end up being. Like, hey, we know which kids, like, when somebody's going down for a nap, if somebody's eating, hey, if somebody is already feeding them, hey, go ahead, I already got them, do your thing. And whether it's 20 minutes that day, whether it's an hour, we just kind of build that into our schedules. But then part of it is too, like, today, and like, I have the ability to build my schedule around it somewhat with patience and that type of thing, which is a lot easier. And like, that does certainly help. But I drop off Cooper, the older one, at preschool. I go to the gym that's literally down the street from there. And then I just came over to the office today because Max just was hanging with the grandfather until Julie gets home today. So that's where it's the communication, not just between my wife and I, but then it's everybody that watches the boys. And we're super fortunate there because her dad is retired. So he watches one or both of them a couple days a week. Her aunt lives down the street from us. My mom comes over one day a week. My dad, he'll be back into it soon. So it's like any and everybody is kind of helping out. And then even like some of I work late 2 days a week. So like one or both of her parents are coming over just to help her out too. So we're very fortunate from that standpoint, but we still, like I said, it's about making that time. And I mean, the other thing then too is with our food, right? Like we're not going to skimp on it. We're not going to just be like, oh yeah, let's just go buy whatever. No, I mean, we're still making food, like whether it's making big batches of it sometimes, but not always. Like, yeah, we have the Instant Pot, we have the crock pot. We'll use those types of things. But then it's, hey, maybe making up a bunch of burgers or a bunch of chicken or a bunch of fish or just whatever it is that week, or just a bunch of soup. So we just have that kind of stuff, especially now as it's getting colder. But yeah, when somebody's cooking, like somebody else is just going to, hey, watch the boys, just be playing with them. Or the other cool thing is now the boys love helping to cook. Is your son the same way? Like, this is one thing that I don't know if I was really expecting this a couple of years ago when my older son was born.
Yeah. Oh no, he totally is. We got him a kitchen. He got a kitchen set for Christmas one year because he just loved being in our kitchen, and he wanted to. And then we go over to other people's houses and they have a kitchen set, and he just loved it. So he'll climb up on the counter because he could just jump up, pull himself up on the counter now, and he'll want to stir things for me. Dad, can I help you with this? And he'll get plates for me. He'll get silverware for me. Even if it's like something where it's splattering grease or something like that, depending on what I'm cooking. Like yesterday, I made homemade crab cakes. Right, it was my wife and I. It was our anniversary, and I made.
Oh, congratulations!
You. And I made homemade crab cakes from scratch, and they're sizzling because I got it on good heat to try to get that nice sear with the butter and some ghee in the pan and all. And I just don't want him to stay there, and like because of his height, it's just when it splatters, it's going to hit him right in the face. For me, it's going to hit me in the chest, and it's dirty, my apron or whatever. But for him, I just like, all right, come on, stand back from this, and he knows, so he's really good about it. But yeah, he does. He loves like, Dad, can I help you with this? Dad, can I start that? So he's no stranger to the kitchen.
I'd say one of our best things that we got was it's like a little stand. Like he climbs up into it and already has like 4 sides around it, like when he's standing in it. And we'll just push that around the kitchen so he can just stand there and be helping out too.
It's on wheels?
So that, no, we put just like not foam, just like little pads on the bottom
like the
of
felt
it. So
pads.
It just slides across the floor.
Yeah,
Felt,
yeah,
thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. And it'll just slide across, but it's basically, like I said, it's a wooden platform, and it was made, I don't even know what it's called, like some kind of tower, but then it's like 4 semi-open sides that he can kind of crawl up and into, and then just stand up, and then it's still enclosed when he's standing there. So he can help cook, stir. Like he loves putting, if I'm making a shake or if we're cooking or something like that, he loves putting spices and things. So I have to be careful letting him get a hold of like the cayenne and stuff, because sometimes I've had some things where it's like, oh, like it's smoking.
Because sometimes they have the small holes, and then sometimes they have the bigger holes. In the shaker or whatever.
He just, once he starts shaking, like he just wants to keep going with it, right? Yeah, I mean, sometimes it makes a little bit of a mess, but it's just on the counter. You just sweep it into like just whatever else you were making, just goes right back on top, and it's fine. But yeah, he loves doing that kind of stuff. He can cook. He can stir up eggs pretty well. So I think it's just introducing all of that in, and that's where it's okay. It's going to be busy, and it's going to take, again, 5 minutes longer. So what?
Right.
It means he gets to do it. It means we get to, like, he has that appreciation for the food. And the other, so I'm saying appreciation, and it's not on my mind right now because we're out of garden season. But one thing that I love having, and I think this is something that every family could easily have, and it doesn't have to be a garden. It has to be even just something in the windowsill. Just appreciating that food doesn't come from a grocery store. Like somebody has to grow it somewhere at some time. And you and I have that appreciation, right? But if you're a kid and all you ever do is just show that, like, you don't even maybe go to the grocery store like with your parents. Maybe it's just, hey, it's showing up in the fridge. Well, do you really have any idea where food comes from? So I think having that idea, because we have to appreciate the food. Like the sun is helping it grow. I mean, all of that. If you don't appreciate that, the water, the soil, all those parts of it and just putting some love into it, then it's going to be hard for you to have and show that good relationship with food. So if you can do, even if again, it's just a couple herbs on the like on the windowsill, or maybe it's a big garden in your backyard, whatever that looks like, I think something like that is fantastic because it's easy to make the time to do that. Or I'm thinking about other stuff like in the backyard. Like we have a couple fig trees, right? We don't have a big backyard, so we can't put like a ton of fruit trees there. But that and a couple berry bushes, they don't really take up much room, and they're super simple. Like there's not a lot of maintenance that goes into it. So just go out there when they're ripe, you get to eat them. It's fantastic.
Yeah, my wife would bring my son into the garden a lot when she'd go up and harvest, and come help me get the tomatoes and the peppers and things like that. So he would definitely go up and help her with that, and it's cool to get them involved. Plus, it gets their hands in the dirt a little bit. Plus, obviously kids like that, but then it's good from the microorganisms perspective and like the energy perspective for humans. It's relaxing. It kind of grounds you a little bit. So there's definitely a lot of benefits to it. And I like what you're saying about, getting their appreciation for it, of like appreciating the food. And that's actually one thing that my son's really good about doing is every single time he sits down to have anything, sometimes not, usually not with snacks, but sometimes he's actually tried to do it with dessert. And we're like, dude, we already gave thanks for dinner. You don't have to you don't have to give thanks for the, whatever you're having for dessert.
He's super thankful for the dessert.
He sits there and he prays. I mean, we'll go out to Elevation Burger or something like that. And he's like, come on, Dad, we got to pray. I'm like, yep, you're right, buddy. So he says, he does name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And he's really good with that. He says grace at all the big dinners for Thanksgiving, Christmas, things like that. So he's been doing that for years, So yeah, it's good.
And see, that's what it's all about, is that appreciation for food. Whether it's, no matter what religion you are, no matter, like, every religion has some appreciation for food as it is, right? Like everybody has some type of blessing, prayer. I mean, it doesn't matter what you want to call it. It's just that appreciation of some sort. I mean, everybody knows since we've had food, like, how much that means to us.
I mean, it's really just about being really thankful, right? I mean, it's just, every religion does have their own prayer or grace or something like that, but it doesn't have to, it shouldn't necessarily be labeled a religious thing. If you think about it, it's just really being thankful, showing gratitude for, the opportunity that you're given to, have the food that you have.
And 100%. And I think that's one practice it's one I've been aware of for a while, but really it hasn't been until this year that I had like a true gratitude practice, like where every night, usually I don't get to do it as much with Cooper because Julie puts Cooper to sleep and I put Max to sleep. So like when I'm sitting in the chair, like just kind of rocking him, like getting him to sleep, I always just tell him what I'm thankful for. And I always tell him, like, I'm thankful for him, thankful for the rest of the family. But then it's just whatever it was that day. And I always try and pick 3 different things. Like, I don't want to say every day, oh, I'm thankful for my food. Because I am, but I want to I think there's
you want to
more thought
reflect
that
a
goes
little bit
into it.
more.
I go about it this
You want to
way.
try to reflect and just try to go into a little introspection and see, like, all right, really, what else can I be thankful for? Yeah.
Right. Now, maybe if it was, I picked the best tomato I've ever had that day. Well, okay, different story. I want to reflect back on that. But it's just even like Tuesday at the gym. I had a big lift for myself. Like I was really happy with that. I was really thankful for that my body let me do that, right? So having even just that kind of appreciation. And so I'm not going to do that every day. I mean, if I was hitting a PR every day, like that'd be fantastic, right? But it doesn't have to be that. Or it could be, hey, we were just talking today, like when we're recording this, there's supposed to be possibly a big snowstorm coming.
It's coming. I'm watching out my window right now. It's coming your way.
And you're a little bit ahead of me on that, like maybe probably half hour, 45 minutes ahead of me. So it's coming. But I mean, hey, just the appreciation of, hey, I can get home safely, right? Just those types of things, especially and it doesn't have to be on a snow day. It can just be on a bright, sunny day that I got to where I was going and my car got me there. And
I have a roof
really
over my head
thing
while it's
to
snowing,
think about
right?
too.
Like I have shelter in the snow. I could be doing this podcast in the freezing cold right now, getting snowed on, my teeth chattering.
That could be kind of fun though, like doing a ice
Yeah, there
podcast
you
or
go.
something. I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to do that every time though.
I'll find a nice fishing hole to jump into next time.
There you go.
So you mentioned that you got a PR. I know your favorite lift is the deadlift. If we're talking more like
I
conventional,
do.
is
I
that what
love
you
the
got a
deadlift.
PR in?
No, I was hitting log press. I hit 235 on the log overhead, so I was
Nice,
happy
man.
with that.
That's real nice. When's the
Felt
next
very
strongman
good.
event?
It'll be in January. I'm competing again, so kind of ramping back up for that. And I started working. So Todd Georgi, who's he's taking like all of Paul Chek's work, like all Charles Poliquin's work,
Did you
and
hear about Charles
I've started
Poliquin?
working with him. I did, and
It
that's a
really
bummer,
is.
dude.
I do. I don't even know if
It
there's
just is.
so for anybody listening, Charles Poliquin was a really world-renowned Canadian strength coach. Worked with very high-level athletes, Olympic athletes, etc., and passed away at the age of, what was he, 56, 57?
I was gonna say
Oh, maybe it
59, but
was.
either way, like
Yeah.
upper 50s, right? Yeah,
So, and it
either
was
way,
just
upper
about, what,
50s,
a month and a half ago? Yeah.
approximately. Yeah. Just I got the email and like I think it said R.I.P. Charles, and I was like, are they talking about like Charles Poliquin or like a different Charles? Like
Right.
what is this? And then I opened it and was just
Yeah.
oh,
I don't even know the cause of
okay. Like
death it still hasn't been released, but it's pretty
I haven't
pretty
seen
crazy.
anything. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, you were saying
Yeah.
who's the guy that took
Oh
Paul's work and
yeah.
Charles's work? Okay.
Todd Georgi, and he's been really helping me out too because I've come to recognize like it took me a while, but we're our own worst coach, right? So at least having somebody there to help out, and I recognize like the overhead is by far my worst event. So I still want to do well in competing. I want to get stronger, feel good doing it, but I would always do things like deadlifting, right? Where anything along those lines where I'm really good at it. I love doing that. So I'll just stick with those, right? Well, yeah, but that's not really going to serve me nearly as much. So he's really opened my eyes to that. And the other thing, and this is a big thing that he picked up from Charles, I think, is the tempo on exercises. Being able to do a lot more holds, a lot more isometric work, a lot more slower eccentrics, and how that I feel so much better doing that. And I don't think I recognized it because, again, I didn't implement a lot of it, but now I can get a lot of that time under tension without feeling beat up in my joints as much because you're just not going through the ranges of motion, but you're still staying in that tension. And now I understand where, even where I've learned from Paul, a lot of those things now too. But I think that was the one thing he even, Todd, when I was first starting to work with him, he did everything with Paul. He went through all 4 like practitioner levels, and he sat down with Paul and he goes, "All right, so what do you want to do next?" Kind of to him, and he's
Repeat
like, "I
that one
don't
time.
have a great grasp."
You broke up a little bit right there.
Oh, I'm sorry. So
He sat down with Paul and
Todd said, yeah, he sat down with him and he's like, I don't have a good grasp on like the exercise programming as much as I want to, right? And Paul immediately was just like, all right, you got to go with Charles. He's the best in the world at it. So,
oh, really?
Right. Like Paul is worlds above. I mean, so many people on so many different levels of knowledge and application, I would say. But he even recognized like, no, Charles is like knows his shit on this stuff. Like he's really good. So maybe you didn't get it from me. Maybe I didn't know how to teach it to you properly. Go study from him. Right. So that's, I think, so cool is being able to let go of the ego enough to say, hey, I can't learn everything. I can't teach you everything. Here's somebody who can. They're going to be, this is what they do. This is what they geek out on. They are just the absolute world class on this. You will learn what you need to from them. And so I've been able to see that in programming and get a lot out of it. And now, I mean, feel the differences then for myself.
So are all your workouts just for strongman stuff, right?
I mean, yes and no. So right now I'm starting to get more into the contest prep.
You're
which
starting to get what?
I hadn't. So I competed, get into the
Oh, okay.
contest prep again. So I competed in August, and then up until probably about the middle of October, I didn't touch an implement. Meaning, like, all I did was body weight, dumbbells, barbells, like just your kettlebells. I mean, whatever it is, but none of the odd implements, more so. So then it's just, hey, really trying to put on a little bit of hypertrophy work. So it's really taking time to stay in specific phases of training so that I can really get the most out of those. And then once that phase is complete, okay, move on, build on each one, so that each one kind of feeds into the next to really get ready for that ultimate level of the competition.
How'd you do in August?
It was my first win in an open class, so I was pretty excited about that. So now it's just chomping at the bit to get back to it. But so recognizing, like, bringing this back almost to the family part of it, right? And being a dad is, for me, competing twice a year, that works pretty well. Would I like to go and compete more? Well, yeah. But at the same time, if I'm doing that, if I'm always going to be traveling, doing that kind of stuff, or spending more time in the gym, I'm going to miss out on stuff going on at home. And I just don't want to do that. So really it's trying to find, what is it? If I do it 2 times a year, I can go through all the proper, like, strength phases. I can go through my hypertrophy phases. I can go through, like, really just my peaking phases. And it doesn't beat me up very much. Like, I'm still feeling okay right now. I'll start feeling, I don't want to say run down, because run down isn't it. I feel a different feeling about myself once I just have to start training very heavy. It's just that, almost that nervous system fatigue. And it's funny, like, I can eat absolutely everything in sight, and I'm still hungry. Sleeping I'm always pretty good about, and that's where it's talking about, like, finding how to work it into being a dad. There's not many nights that I don't sleep with one or both boys, right? Like, the little guy, a lot of times, like, he might make it till 10 o'clock, he might make it till 2 o'clock in his crib, and then he's up, put him in bed between us, and he's out like a light. Or it's maybe just going over and sleeping in Cooper's bed with him. But yeah, just making sure to get that rest. And if that rest means just sleeping with kids, like, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, as long as they're not up and kicking all night, it's a pretty good night's sleep.
And as long as they don't get dependent upon that, because I've known people where the kids get dependent, and it's like, then the parent can't get out of the bedroom.
No, and you're right. And no, that's a really, I think, such a double-edged sword. And I don't know that I'm sure there's no right or wrong, because, again, every family is different, every situation, every kid is different. So you kind of have to find out, like, how does it work for you guys? So, I mean, some nights we'll just, if Max wakes up, either I'll go in or Julie will go in. It might just take 5 minutes. He comes back down and he just goes back into his crib. Other nights it's, you know what, I'm just ready to go right back to sleep, bring him right in and just pass out too.
See, and you're talking about going back to the training piece of it and just the lifestyle aspect of it. You're training for specific things, right? So, like, if we have people listening to this that, they're not competing, they're just trying to be, they're just an everyday guy, and they're trying to manage a healthy lifestyle, figure out how to implement some things. Maybe they want to get their body better, their energy up, testosterone up, whatever it is, right? I mean, they're just trying to do the best that they can with the situation that they have. I mean, you're planning for something specific, and so if the person who's not competing is listening to this, it's like, wow, this is actually so much easier, for me. I mean, of course, maybe some of the other situations aren't the same, but you're running a business, you got 2 kids, you have a wife. And so you're trying to balance competing, training, running a business, and your family all at the same time. So it's definitely doable. Right. And I think the biggest takeaway is just planning it out, doable. Planning your exercise, planning your food. And, it's kind of, of course, the old cliche saying, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. Right. And you kind of wonder why we have these, like, as people would sometimes label them, like, corny cliche sayings. It's like, but they really mean something. right?
They're still
They're
around
still
for a
around for a
reason.
reason. They're here to stay because, you know, it's such a valuable lesson. You're like, you know, like the saying, do or do not, there is no try, by Yoda, of course, right? Such a popular saying. And people are like, yeah, I know Yoda. And then, you know, but think about it. The language that we use for ourselves is so powerful. If we say, oh, I'm trying this or I'm trying that, you know, you know how many people I've given compliments to and like, oh yeah, I'm trying. Like, they don't even say thank you. Sometimes they don't even say
Yeah.
thank you. They just say, oh, I'm trying. Or maybe they do say thank you. Like, thanks, I'm trying. Like, no. Take
Yeah.
ownership of the freaking accomplishments that you've been achieving and say, thanks. You know, I've been working really hard at it, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm still going, you know, and just be proud of it instead of like, yeah, I'm trying. It's like, no, you're either doing it or you're not doing it. You know, either you're giving it your all or you're not giving it your all. And even if you're not at your end goal, you're still making progress. And that's one of the biggest motivators is progress, right? So if you're making progress, you're still doing it. It's not that you're trying to do it. You're doing it. It's just that you're just not at the end result yet, which is okay, you know. But I think people think that it's like either they're there or they're not there, and they're not acknowledging any in between.
Tim, I feel like I just got an amazing motivational speech right now. And I am very serious about that. Like, I love how you're putting that into perspective, because everybody can do this. Everybody can do what it is that they want to do with their health, with their body, with their kids, their family. Like, it really is within your reach. Just do it. It's hard to sometimes swallow that, and it's okay if you're not ready. Like, you're not ready. I get it, and that's fine. But it's there for you for you to just go and do. And I love that. That was good. Now, okay, I have to call you out. Was it Yoda that said that, or was that Bruce Lee?
What, do or do not, there is no try?
Yeah.
Yoda, man.
I thought Bruce said it first.
I'm pretty
I don't
sure
know.
it was Empire Strikes Back.
Oh man. I was quoting. I knew Yoda said it. I just didn't realize he was the first to say it.
I don't know if Bruce Lee ever said it. If you type in do or do not, I'm just doing it right now. Do or do not, there is no try.
Yeah.
Just images come up with Yoda. I don't know if Bruce Lee said that though.
And I might be wrong on that too. I was gonna say we're both probably wrong. If somebody said that 10,000 years ago, it's just coming back around, right? Well, Yoda might have said it 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, right. Well, he was 400 years old.
Yeah, so there you go.
No, there is a really good no, it's definitely Yoda, because I just typed in Bruce Lee too after.
All right.
But I know there is a good thing that Bruce Lee said. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's his water quote. Like, he's talking about like being fluid, like water, kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He has a lot of good ones too, and yeah. I can't get back. I keep thinking about one of the things you said before. With like whether you have something specifically you're training for or not, the biggest thing that I think that most people should take away is, even if you the time to not do something is never an option. And the reason for that, I found, is I can do so many squats and so many lunges and so many push-ups like throughout a normal, like, I'll just call it work day, right? I set a timer now, like when I'm in the clinic, where every time that timer goes off, I'm gonna just do 10 squats, I'm gonna do 20 squats, whatever it is. And like, patients and other clinicians and stuff around me like started noticing that. So it's like every time that timer's going off, everybody's doing something. And it might just be like dropping down, holding a Superman for 30 seconds, like whatever that looks like. Just doing some corrective exercise. Maybe I'm just going to do a neck stretch whenever that comes up. The reason I'm saying that is like I'm stretching my neck right now, right? Like, it feels tight. But the time for it is always there. Just make it part of other things. So playing with the kids, I can't tell you how much more hip mobility I've been able to get in the last 3 years, just from rolling around, playing on the ground, like being able to just stretch out my spine, my hips especially, and how much more crawling work I've been able to do too, right? Like, just being able to be on the floor and just doing all that playing, all that pushing. pulling. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I was actually, I did a presentation yesterday for a company, and we were talking about exercise, and a couple people, said, well, what if you don't have a gym membership? What if you're not, you don't have a lot of equipment at your house? And I said, you could just you can use your stairs. I said, if you can do body weight squats, you can go up and down your steps for your cardio. You can use your stairs for push-ups, because if you can't do a push-up on the floor and you even can't do a push-up on your knees, you can do a push-up on your second step, your third step, your fourth step. You know what I mean? So you can use your stairs as like your treadmill or your elliptical or something like that, or your stair stepper, right? And then I said to him, you could always turn it into a little game, like put something heavy at the bottom of your steps, whether it's something that you make like a backpack, and you just throw a ton of stuff in it, like a ton of water bottles or whatever it is. And you almost make like a homemade sandbag with it, right? Pick it up every single time you have to go up the steps, and put it down and just go do whatever you have to do. And then when you're going back downstairs, pick it up and carry it back down with you. You could take like the Rogue strongman sandbag and do that exact same thing, like 100 pounds, and you're carrying it up. Now, if you got a ton of other shit in your hand, then it's maybe not going to be that easy, but you know what I mean? Like stupid little stuff like that. You could always turn it into a little game. Whereas like you're saying, every time the timer goes off, you're basically like Pavlov's dog. Where it's like timer goes off squats, timer goes off push-ups,
Yeah.
And so, every time you go up the steps, pick up something heavy and, pick it up and put it down, So it doesn't have to be that hard. It's like you said, about planning it. Of course, having the right mindset. I've had some other people on the podcast where we talk about mindset, and that is really, really huge too, because even though you're not training for an event, like I have a client who's doing a marathon this weekend. I had another client who had just done 3 triathlons over the summertime, and she hadn't done a triathlon in 7 years, and she was dealing with all this back pain, and I got her out of pain. And then she's just jumped right into triathlons again, and she did great. She actually beat her times from 7 years ago. And so even if you're not training for something like that, how about you just train to be a healthy, happy, and functional human being? Because that's never going to, if you make that a goal, as long as you're breathing, that should still be your goal, right? Right. The goal doesn't end. It's not like, okay, well, I did my triathlon. What's next? Or, I just did my strongman competition and I crushed it. What's next? Like, all right, well, I'm going to crush the next strongman competition, right? Or it's on to something else. So like, there's an end with that. Like that particular goal that I just gave, that doesn't end until you end, so it's just like, okay, it's as a constant fight. It's constantly, planning it out. What am I going to do? How am I going to challenge myself with my exercise, with my food, with my sleep, and all those other lifestyle factors. And yeah, it's just, I like what you're saying about the planning, because I feel like that's just a simple thing. And maybe if some people are out there saying, well, I'm not a very good planner, I don't really know where to start. That's why exactly.
To help you.
There's so many people out there. There's resources. They can reach out to you. We're gonna drop your website here in a little bit, but they could reach out to you. You're a perfect example of somebody that could help them, because you're still taking one-on-one coaching clients, right?
Yeah, and so that's why. But that's even why I said like I had to get a coach for myself, right? So it's the same thing. Like, okay, I know how to do the planning of when I should be doing what, but I didn't have the right planning for what exercises looked like for me, what that recovery looked like for me, and so on and so forth with that. So it all came kind of down to planning, and I needed some help kind of with that too. So yeah, everybody needs. I don't know.
Sometimes
after I
it's
started
being
having
humble too, right?
some coaches
it's
in
about
my
being
life,
a little bit more humble, right? Because if you're a fitness professional and you're admitting the fact that you need help, which I totally get.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, if you can agree on the fact, if everybody can agree on the fact that we don't know everything about everything, then we can all use a little bit of help. Right? So, just be a little bit more humble.
Yeah, being able to be humble, swallow the ego, say, hey, can you help me do X, Y, Z? It doesn't matter. And I think this is something I found out, like, the more successful somebody becomes at whatever endeavor they're really in, the more that they're looking for help in it. I don't think that matters. Like, think about the highest level of any sport. Are they still getting new coaches, whether it's strength and conditioning, whether it's if it's a basketball, somebody to help with them with their shooting form, somebody to help with just overall conditioning, somebody to help with their nutrition, somebody to help, like, so on and so forth. Like, they are still trying to get to the absolute highest possible level
Right.
at that. And that can be, hey, if you're trying to be the best father, I'd have to look. I might even look while we're talking here on my phone. Like, some of the better books that I've listened to on just being a better father, being a better husband, like all Gary Chapman's whole series. So his first one was the 5 love languages, but he has that like the 5 love languages for kids. And it's like how for you to better love and show love and express love with your kids. And there's one, there might just be one for dads. And I've listened to the specific spouse one. I've listened, I think, like 3 or 4 of his. I've listened to a couple others, and I'm not remembering the names right now, but it's about just trying to be a better dad, a better parent, trying to listen even on podcasts on that kind of stuff. So being able to tie that in and learn from other people that, hey, talking, just getting us to get to talk right now. I think, like, there's other stuff that each of us is going to pick up during this. Like, you talking about, like, I love the monkey bars, and that's kind of something we didn't get it on our swing set that we have for the boys right now, but that might be something like I look into, because the swinging standpoint, I love that, to be able to just kind of crawl, pulling with your hands rather than just crawling on the ground is awesome.
You can maybe even just get we don't have anything in our backyard. We just go to the park and do it. But, maybe you can either build something in your backyard, or there's some kind of monkey bar set that you can just put out in the backyard. Because, sometimes when they come with the jungle gym, it's like 3. And you can go back and forth. But, if you can get a little bit more, turn into like a little ninja warrior. Ninja warrior
Well,
backyard.
I have a good, maybe like the corner of the house, do like almost like a slack rope, but more that you just like pull across in your hands, like maybe something like that, like over connected to the swing set too. I'm gonna have to play. I know what I'm gonna have to play with coming up now. See, I definitely took
new project.
Call, so thank you. I love it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. All right, so the main takeaway is plan it out, and know that it can actually is possible.
Plan it out
to do all this stuff.
Plan it out, absolutely. And that's the thing. If you plan it out, it is possible. If you don't plan it out, it might be possible. Like, you just don't know, because you don't know how much time you have. You don't know what each thing's going to take. And when kids come into play, like, timing kind of gets thrown out the window, but hey, you have a good idea what your kid's about. And if you don't have a good idea, like, how your kid's going to react on things, I mean, get to know them a little better. That's what's just spending time and getting to know them. And I think that'll help with just some of the planning too.
And it doesn't take a lot, right? You mentioned that you work out 4 days a week. Yeah. So you're training 4 days a week, it's like, and how long are your workouts?
About an hour, like, until I do like warm up, finish everything. And then just like, when I do like some of the strongman stuff, it sometimes does take like an hour 10, but that's more, I don't like going that long, but that's more just by default of, there's a lot of stuff to move around.
And rest times.
It's all tucked in random corners.
Nervous system activation, so you probably need a little bit more rest, or no, you don't really give yourself
that. So like, right. I mean, I'm doing today, in between sets of deadlifts, I'm taking 5 minutes.
Right.
So yeah, it's a little bit longer than your average minute or 2 minutes in between stuff.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Nick, as with every episode, we end with 10 questions for the guest. And these 10 questions were inspired by James Lipton and Bernard Pivot. So you ready? All right.
Let's do it.
Who is your hero?
This is one I've been thinking about this, because I don't know that I can pick one. I think it's just going to have to be my parents. Just trying to, both of them, like, they both taught me so many different things. And I'm an only child, so I was certainly close with them. So I would just have to simply say both of my parents.
What excites you?
What excites me? People having fun, just living life to the fullest and being able to share that with people. So for me, it's getting to do strongman, getting to be a father, getting to be a husband, getting to play with my dogs, and it's just having fun with that. And then I'm going to be working in the clinic later this afternoon, like getting to help people and just having fun with every
Nice.
day.
What turns you off?
Negativity, for sure. And that sometimes is tough to swallow, working with people that don't always want to heal, and just that negative Nancy mentality. So no, gotta find the root of where that negativity is coming from, and kind of nip it in the bud.
What's your favorite sound?
So before we were talking, you said that your favorite sound, I think, was your son laughing, and this made my immediate thing was, and I noticed it this morning. So I must have known you were going to ask this question. It's little feet running in the hallway. that little, like, I was changing the little guy, and Cooper, I just hear him running on by with that little pitter patter, and I would have to say that's mine.
What's your least favorite sound?
Least favorite sound, I think, might have to just go back to something negative. Like, I don't want to hear the can't, no, never, won't happen. Like, that's just any negativity.
What is your favorite quote or saying?
Favorite quote or saying? I'm going to have to go, I guess, with the Yoda one. Because I'm not coming up with anything else good right now.
In a couple words, what should a dad be?
A dad should be as much love as he can to his kids, his family, and he should be that role model to show health, show love, show what being a human being is all about.
In a couple words, what should a dad not be?
A dad should not be something that he doesn't like. This is one, anytime my wife calls me out on something, right, and I recognize that, oh wow, I really need to change that. Like, it's about not being contradictory, right? Finding what your values are and sticking to them. And if you want to change them, but stick to your guns.
If you could try any other profession, what would it be?
I think I would geek out on being an engineer now.
Cool.
I haven't decided on what kind. I really like a lot of, I don't know, either that, I'm going to go engineer / like theoretical physicist, something like that.
And finally, what would you like to be remembered for?
I would like to be remembered for being me, like being happy, being healthy, having fun with my kids, with my family, and just being there for them.
Nice. I love it. That's a great place to end, Nick. Oh, real quick, not ending there yet. Where can everybody go to find out more about you? Social media, website, all that stuff.
So, yeah, easiest place, evo-health.com.
EVO?
Bare Naked Health Podcast. evo-health.com. Bare Naked Health Podcast.com. And like we talked about, like, depending on when this comes up, nickhorowski.com. But any and all of those will kind of take links to podcasts, social media, all across the board.
And then at Evo Health, there's links for social media, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff, so people can follow you there.
Yeah, everything's on there. That's the easiest way to
follow along your strongman stuff, your strongman training that you're doing right now.
Yeah, that's why I got to get some more of that stuff up. Sometimes, I'm curious, as we're talking here, do you find that you either want to post everything or nothing, and it's like hard to just find like those pinpoint things to put on there?
Yeah, because I hate social media.
That's how I'm at. It's like I either got to do
it's such a chore,
or I just do it. Like, I might post a couple days, like a couple times a day, or like once a day for like 2-3 weeks, and then I just don't do it for a month. So it's just, yeah, I have to find.
Well, the challenge for me is I work from home. So I work from home. I eat at home. I train at home. I sleep at home, and then my son's here. So it's like I want to try to limit how much he's seeing. So we're talking about being a role model for your kids. I don't want myself in my kid's eyes to be this guy who's just always on his phone, always on the computer. You know what I mean? So it's
all
just
right.
like,
You pinpointed. That's my exact reason. I absolutely agree with you, Jim. Yes, that is it. 100%. You're right.
So it's just like, I'm trying to make dinner because, maybe Jimmy and I, we got to get to jujitsu at 6:00 and we got to eat by 4:30, 4:45. So we're not too full. And plus he takes like half an hour to 40 minutes to eat anyway. And so, I'm trying to do this. It's like, oh, okay, I could take a picture of this. I mean, and sometimes I just try to snap a picture after the fact and be like, okay, this is what I had for dinner. But sometimes I'm not thinking about that. It's not like I don't want to share it, but
I'm with you.
It's just social media, man. It's not going anywhere though. It's not going anywhere. So
it's going to develop. It's going to morph into something. And just
it has something to do with the robots and the machines taking over. I'm convinced.
Who knows? We'll find out.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for being on the Warrior Dads podcast. It was a great interview. And so for anybody listening, go check out Nick and learn more about him at evo-health.com. Check him out on Instagram, Facebook. He's got a lot of cool things about his strongman stuff. Great philosophy, great guy. And I'm so grateful for you to be on the show, man.
Jim, thank you so much. This has been absolute blast, and really appreciate what you're just getting out and sharing with a lot of cool dads out there.
I appreciate that. All right, have a good one.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Warrior Dads podcast. If you like this podcast and want to support it, please subscribe, leave comments, and share it with someone you think would benefit from listening as well. Thanks again, and keep on being a warrior dad.